Welcome to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I am your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host from the FF Face-Off, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. How are you?
All right, and we have as a guest today one of the Grueling Truth NFL beat writers who is here to go over his quarterback rankings and some other NFL news. Help me welcome to the show, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Sam, Zach Ertz missed practice, may not be able to play against the Giants. How concerned are you that the Eagles can finish this off with a win in New York?
I mean, I really am concerned here because if we're looking at games this week, it would just make sense. Like the way the world is, it would just make sense for the Giants to beat Philadelphia and for Dallas to sneak into the playoffs. I mean, it's just how it is. And Philadelphia and New York always play each other close anyways. And with all the injuries they've had to their wide receivers this year, Zach Ertz is obviously their best offensive threat for Carson Wentz to target. So if he's not available, I mean, they really have to worry going into this game.
All right, Anthony, same question. And my biggest concern, if I'm an Eagles fan, is the Eagles' defense has been pedestrian at best on the road. At home, they've been really good, but this game's in New York.
Yeah, there's a lot of concern here for the Eagles. Especially if Ertz isn't out there. That's just another weapon. Carson Wentz is top pass-catching weapon right now. He won't be on the field. The Giants are actually playing well offensively. They're playing the best football they've played offensively all year. Saquon Barkley looks like Saquon Barkley again. The receivers are healthy. So there is a shot that the Eagles could lose this game, but we saw the Giants collapse a few weeks ago when these two teams played with Eli Manning on Monday Night Football. Carson Wentz is probably one of the hottest quarterbacks in football, and he's doing it with nothing at pass catcher outside of Ertz and Goddard and Greg Ward.
Yeah, but if Ertz can't play also, that's an even bigger concern.
Of course there's a concern, but, Philly should be the better team.
I don't know if they are right now, Sam. I mean, just with the injuries, and if you're missing Zach Ertz, I mean, Saquon Barkley is playing as good as he ever has the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say the Eagles are for sure a better team right now, just talent-wise. Because if Barkley's even at 80% of what he was last week when he was tearing up the Redskins, then I really think the Giants have, at least offensively, an advantage over Philadelphia. And their problem for the Giants right now is their defense, I think.
Yeah, and when we look at the Dallas Cowboys, no Dak Prescott at practice, Anthony. What's the concern there that he will even play?
I think Dak, he's going to tough it out. He did it last week. He was a little off with his accuracy. Receivers dropped a lot of passes, but I think this is more of a rest period for Dak.
Okay,
but
so
is there an injury? Absolutely. That Dak is certainly dealing with something.
So,
and I think it's more severe than what people are leading on.
If it's more severe than what people are leading on, why are they even going to play him in this game? Is it worth it?
They're trying to win. They're trying to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. So you were all right with Mike Shanahan ruining RG3 for a playoff game? I mean, there's no way the Dallas Cowboys can make it to the Super Bowl. Agreed?
Yeah, agreed. I'll say that.
So why would you risk?
But as a coach, you're going to try to win every game.
I know this. There is a difference between winning the battle and losing the war. And if it's me, I mean, if I'm Jason Garrett, yeah, I'm probably going to play him because my only chance to keep my job is the Giants, beat the Eagles and I beat the Redskins. But maybe that's part of the problem with having a coach that's kind of a lame duck, Anthony.
You don't think that any coach is going to play him? Because I know our opinion is that Dallas can't make a run but that locker room, those coaches and that owner, and this goes for all 32 teams, they believe they can win every game they go out and play, including the Cincinnati Bengals. There is not, if you're an NFL player or an NFL coach and you don't believe you're going to go on a field and win every game, you don't belong in the league.
Well, I can tell you this. There's a big difference between belief and truth. And I can tell you this. The Cincinnati Bengals players know the truth when they walk on that field. They might be able to hype themselves up and believe they can win.
Maybe that's why they're a 0 or a 1-win football team.
And that's why the Dallas Cowboys are a below 500 football team. I mean, when it comes down to it, if they're both sitting and watching the playoffs, they're the same.
Right.
Okay. So am I way off base here, Sam? I just think if I'm Jerry Jones and if I think Dak Prescott is my future and it's a shoulder injury, which could be really serious, and even if it's not now, he gets hit on it again, maybe it is. Plus, how effective is he going to be? Because Dak Prescott's been terrible so far in the last few weeks.
Yeah, he had a hard time last week. I will say this: his backup is Cooper Rush, and even though I don't have much to say about Cooper Rush, I still think Dallas is talented enough to beat Washington with Cooper at quarterback. The only issue I have right now is it's got to be Jerry Jones that makes the decision, because Jason Garrett's not going to bench Dak Prescott, because Jason Garrett's career is basically, well, his time with Dallas is basically up. I think he's going to get fired no matter what at the end of this year.
Yeah, so I think Jerry Jones is old as and Jerry Jones is old as hell, so he's trying to win too because he doesn't know if he gets another chance.
Yeah, I just think Jason Garrett's gonna. There's no way Jason Garrett pulls Dak Prescott, in my opinion. Now, whether that's probably not the right move. He probably should pull Dak for this game, but I don't think Garrett's gonna do it.
Yeah, because you got Haskins out. I assume that means Case Keenum's playing for the Redskins, right, Anthony?
Yeah, and earlier in the year, Terry McLaurin was playing his best football in the first quarter of the season with Case Keenum, and I think McLaurin's going to have a big game.
How about this? I could see both of these teams losing and the Eagles getting in.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen.
All right, Sean Payton says there's absolutely no way that he's going to sit his starters this week, even though he needs some help to get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. Do you agree with people sitting players, or do you think they should play this time of year, Sam?
I mean, if you have something to gain, I think you should probably play. That's my opinion. I always like it when the guys go out and actually play the games, whether it's in football or in the NBA. Now, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, I understand the Ravens have the 1 seed locked up and they don't need to play anybody. But if you're vying for a bye here and you're the New Orleans Saints and you have the Superdome potentially as a home field advantage in the postseason, I think it makes sense to go out there and to play your guys.
Well, I still don't think home field advantage matters at all. And I think we saw that last year. They had home field advantage. I would play if I'm the Saints, I would play these guys just because right now the Saints are hot, Anthony, and I really wouldn't want to risk jeopardizing that right now.
Yeah, I think the Saints should be playing their guys. They have something to play for. Why not? And to your point, being one of the hottest teams in the NFL, we can even take this to the Baltimore Ravens. They're on an 11-game win streak, and yes, you want to rest your guys, I guess, and you can't mess up that mojo.
Well, are they just sitting the quarterback, or are they sitting everybody?
They're not sitting everybody. Right now, I believe it's Lamar Jackson, probably Mark Ingram because he did have that injury. So I don't think if if it was a playoff game in this week, I don't think they're playing Mark Ingram because he did avoid major injury, but there is a concern about I believe it was a calf. Marshall Yanda's not going to play. I think maybe a couple of the defensive guys aren't going to play, but they're not resting everybody. And I think John Harbaugh told the media that he's going to make his decisions as it gets closer to game time.
All right, and with the Baltimore Ravens, though, I can tell you this. I don't think it's a bad idea just because RG3 hasn't played all year. And if something was to happen to Lamar Jackson, I would rather have RG3 have played a complete game than not played a complete game. And I think that with RG3, the Baltimore Ravens will still win this game.
I hate to agree with you there, but I am going to agree.
Yeah, because I'd rather have RG3 than Duck Hodges or whatever his name is.
Do you think it makes a difference with the way Lamar Jackson, his playing style? It's not like he's a precision passer and you're messing up his rhythm because he's not going to play for a couple of weeks. This is a run-first quarterback, a run-first team, so do you think it matters that much on Lamar Jackson?
I think it matters more to play RG3.
Right.
Lamar Jackson is what he is. He runs, he throws the ball deep. Not a huge deal. I understand what you're saying there, and I pretty much agree with everything you just said. But I want to see RG3 in this offense just for the simple fact that I think RG3 fits this offense just as good as Lamar Jackson. And RG3 has not had a lot of playing time over the last 5 years. So I think it's a good idea to get him in here and let Lamar rest. I mean, you get a couple weeks off. So if I'm the head coach of a team in this point, and I know Tony Dungy always caught crap for it, but just imagine if one of those games Dungy plays Peyton Manning and Peyton Manning gets hurt. Then Tony Dungy's an idiot for doing that. So you're kind of in a lose-lose situation this time of year if you're an NFL coach, Sam.
Yeah, you're pretty much damned if you do, damned if you don't, because depending on what happens in the playoffs, people will point fingers and say, oh, you guys weren't hot enough because you rested your starters. Or like you said, if someone goes down and gets hurt, if Lamar Jackson gets hurt, they say, well, why were you playing him in Week 17 when you didn't have anything to play for? So there's really no way to win this game. Someone's going to end up unhappy, unless, of course, you just go and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So at least the Dallas Cowboys never had to worry about stuff like this, Anthony.
No, not in a long time.
All right. Was it 1995 or something? Yeah, I know. My Bengals haven't had to worry about it since 1990. Let's go ahead and let's look at the quarterback power rankings. And we'll start off at the top. Lamar Jackson at 1, Drew Brees at 2, Patrick Mahomes 3, Russell Wilson 4. Anthony, agree or disagree?
Who was the 3 and 4?
3 was Patrick Mahomes, 4 was Russell Wilson.
I think you can make a strong case. See, if these power rankings are more recent bias, you can make a case to put Drew Brees up at the top. But if we're looking at it collectively for the season, then it's Lamar Jackson. I think Patrick Mahomes certainly deserves to be at the 3 spot. He lit up the Bears on the road to Chicago, and we talked about the Chiefs and how I feel about the Chiefs earlier in the week. But I agree with this. And on Russell Wilson's case, he hasn't exactly been playing his best football. So, I think this is a fair top 4, making the case for Drew Brees at number 1 if we're looking at the past 4 to 5 weeks.
Well, how about this? I'll give you the fact the reason Russell Wilson's number 4, not number 1, is because of poor coaching. I think Pete Carroll's a terrible coach. I've said it before. I will say it again. I think he plays it too safe with a guy like Russell Wilson and his team. And I know they signed Marshawn Lynch, but my hope for the Seattle Seahawks is that maybe this will be more of a pass-first team, because we saw it last year when Seattle went to Dallas in the playoff game where all they did was constantly run the ball. And when you've got Russell Wilson, you might as well let him try to win you the game, Anthony.
Yeah, at some point, you have to let Russell Wilson do what Russell Wilson does. I get the whole narrative with Marshawn Lynch, and it's a fun story and all, but this realistically is what? He's a 36-year-old running back, 37-year-old running back, hasn't played all season long, and I'm sure he keeps himself in great shape. But,
well,
I just don't know if you're going to get Chris Carson production out of Marshawn Lynch.
Well,
at this stage of his career.
I would say this, Sam. The signing of Marshawn Lynch means that I think this is going to be more of a pass-first team, and the reason I say that is the 49ers, I think, sacked Russell Wilson 5 times in their first game. And I think with a guy like Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, I think you have a better capability than you do with Chris Carson to protect him. I think Marshawn Lynch is a better blocker. And I think that what you will see here, I think you'll see the Seattle Seahawks come out and let Russell Wilson throw the ball 35 or 40 times. Marshawn Lynch will be the guy in there to chip on the tight end or chip to help the tight end or pick up the block or coming up the middle. And I think if Pete Carroll wants to have a chance to win this game, that's the way he has to play it.
No, I totally agree with you. I think the Seahawks were a better team earlier in the year when they were throwing the ball more. 'Cause that's when Tyler Lockett was having field days left and right. And Wilson was in the MVP race more at the start of the season when they were throwing more. And as they transitioned back towards their offensive mindset, they started running the ball more. This team lost some of its explosiveness. So I totally agree with everything you're saying there. I hope they use Lynch, but not in the same feature where they use Chris Carson. I agree with you on the blocking scheme. I think he gives you more of a pass protection. And I think he gives you a little bit more of an X factor because you're not sure what you're going to get from him. But at the same point, the emphasis should be on Russell Wilson and should be on throwing the ball early and often.
Yeah, and Anthony, I think people miss the fact that Marshawn Lynch is being brought in here to block.
You think that I what?
I said I think people are missing the point that Marshawn Lynch is being brought into this game more to be a pass protector than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That's a point that I even overlooked this whole time. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
Well, it's 4. Well, you're from the Northeast. You're close to New York and Philly, so we can't expect you to be able to put 2 and 2 together. But I think the other question I have is on your quarterback rankings, is this a overall for the year thing, or power rankings I think are supposed to be, kind of a little bit of what you've done all year. But right now, how could Drew Brees not be number 1? I mean, 19 touchdowns, 1 pick since week 11. Nobody is playing better than what Drew Brees is playing right now, Sam.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this on Tuesday when you brought that up, and I was kind of laughing because I heard you say that on Tuesday. I'm like, I think I put Lamar at 1 this week, but so never going to get to this point. But I still go with Lamar Jackson because there's some recency bias to it, but at the same point, Lamar Jackson's got 25 passing touchdowns and 1 interception in the past 8 games for himself. So he's been playing very well, and he's got 4 rushing touchdowns and 630 rushing yards during that time, too. So both of these guys are not turning the ball over. They're creating tons of yards and scores for their teams. They're basically doing everything for their squads right now. And it is close. These two, in my opinion, are on a league of their own right now. They're head and shoulders above the other guys on this list at the moment. But I still went with Lamar Jackson in the end.
Nah. Anthony, what do you think?
I missed you there. You cut out.
So what do you think?
About which part?
The Lamar Jackson-Drew Brees comparison. Because I think if we were going power rankings, if you gave me one quarterback right now to go win a Super Bowl with, I would take Drew Brees. That's what makes him number 1.
See, really, though?
Hell yeah.
I mean, would put Brees on top because of the way he's been playing football right now in the past 4 to 5 weeks. But it's also hard to argue the impact Lamar Jackson has had on the Baltimore Ravens season. I mean, if they go on this run and win a Super Bowl, they're going to make the case that they could be a top 10 team of all time, whether you like it or not.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
They could make a case to be a top 10 team of all time.
If they they have 11-game winning streak. If they beat the Steelers and then win a couple more games, including the Super Bowl, that's 15, 16 games in a row.
So?
Playing completely
terrible competition.
Opposite. This is a passing league. They're doing it. I mean, John Harbaugh is taking a contrarian approach to how he's winning football games right now, and this defense is also playing outstanding.
Okay, so I hate to tell you this, but if they were to play like the 1975 Steel Curtain, they would get nothing. Lamar Jackson would be horrible because he would be overrun. If he played the 92 Cowboys, they would be destroyed. I mean, because to be an all-time great team, you either have to have an all-time great offense or an all-time great defense, and they don't have either one of those things.
You don't think this is an all-time great offense?
Hell no. An all-time great offense should have an all-time great offensive line, an all-time great quarterback, all-time. I mean,
just because you don't like the way they're doing it doesn't.
It has nothing to do with that because I like the way they're doing it, but they're not going to do it because I will guarantee you, as I sit here today, the Baltimore Ravens will not win the Super Bowl. So to sit here and compare them to being an all-time great team?
I'm saying if they keep winning.
I don't care if they keep winning or not. They're not an all-time great team. All-time great team to me, I think Steelers,
right
Cowboys.
But if they win 15, 16 games in a row, including a Super Bowl, it's hard to deny them.
No, it isn't.
But Anthony,
I'm
not sitting here watching them saying this is an all-time great team. Like I'm not. To me, the Baltimore Ravens.
They're basically putting up points like the Chiefs did last year, and then holding teams to 7 points at the same time, 10 points.
Really? Because I watched them beat the Buffalo Bills 24-17, and
right.
I see them
2017.
Yeah, when I see them do this, Anthony, I mean, I don't see them dominating real good teams. I see them destroying bad teams.
Right. But that's what the good teams do. You're supposed to
nobody ever denied that they were a good team. We're talking about a top 10 all-time team. A top 10 all-time team does not struggle at Pittsburgh with the Steelers. They don't struggle at home with the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, you can wow all you want, but when you look at this, they're not. I mean, the Texans were the closest thing to a really good team that they blew out, and the Texans are one-dimensional. They barely beat the 49ers. They barely beat the Bills. And I really don't think an all-time great team
New England?
is going to...
What about the New England? That doesn't count?
Well, I was going down the schedule, if you let me get to it. They beat New England. They beat Seattle. So, I mean, do you think that New England is anywhere near an all-time team? I mean, they're not even a really good team.
Not right now.
They're not a really good team. Hey, how about this? Do you think that this Ravens team is better than every one of Bill Belichick's teams that won Super Bowls?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, so
I
this is where I would go with this.
I think this is a conversation to be had if the Baltimore Ravens win the Super Bowl. Then
I think it's a conversation to be had now. Because
ranking all-time great teams.
How about this? I don't think
and then we can use the NFL 100 hashtag and go viral on Twitter.
You know what? I don't care about the NFL 100 hashtag. What I care about is this. I don't think any of Bill Belichick's teams that have won the Super Bowl are a top 10 or top 15 team of all time. I don't think they're even close. And you're not sure that the Ravens are even better than that. I have to go back and all I know is this. Like the 84 49ers, number one offense, number one defense. The 75, 78 Steelers, top 5 in both. Number 1 in defense in 1976, even though they didn't win it all that year. The 1992 Cowboys, 93 Cowboys, top 3 or 4 defense, top 3 or 4 offense. You don't have that here. Plus, John Harbaugh is a hell of a football coach, but I don't think you can put him with Bill Walsh and Chuck Noll yet.
No.
All right, so we will never have this discussion again because they're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Well,
all right, let's see. Patrick Mahomes at 3, Russell Wilson at 4. Then we get Ryan Tannehill at number 5, Carson Wentz.
Well, actually, to be fair, Baltimore's a top 5 offense and defense right now, statistically. That's what I was looking up. Number 2 offense, number 5 defense.
Yeah. What's your point?
So you're saying the 49ers are a top 5 in this, top 5 in that. Well, so is
Well,
Ravens.
what I would say is this, Anthony. The competition in the 70s, 80s, and 90s was much higher than it is now. You know, if you look at the 84 49ers, they had to deal with Lawrence Taylor and the Giants. They had to deal with the end of Tom Landry's really good teams in Dallas. They had to deal with Joe Gibbs and the Washington Redskins. Coaching was much better.
But if we're going to cross eras, and if we're going to talk, Derrick Henry was a starting left tackle. How many years? 40 years ago.
Was that?
What his size?
But Jim Brown was that big.
Right.
He wasn't a starting left tackle.
Right, but he was still. How big were the linemen back then?
Yeah, 250, 260.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's hard to go in between eras and say, well, this era and that era.
Dude, I'll tell you what. That era in the 60s and 70s, it was much harder to be an offensive lineman. Much harder. And you had to be able to move a little bit. Now it's just a bunch of big fat guys that can't do anything. The coaching was much better back then. The coaching today is terrible. I mean, we're watching teams now on their own 30 taking a timeout instead of taking a 5-yard penalty and punting the ball. I mean, I don't think today's NFL compares to anything 20 or 30 years ago. Sure, the guys are bigger, faster, and stronger, but they're not technically as good as what they were. The coaching's not as good as what it was. And they've dumbed down the rules to make it so an offense, put it like this, if you put the offense the way it's run right now in 1974, and you put them against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steelers will never let anybody get open for Lamar Jackson to throw it to. And the Steelers, you talk about the size. Jack Lambert was like 6'1", 215 pounds, and he could run. Mean Joe Green could run. Jack Ham was maybe the second greatest outside linebacker that ever lived. I don't think that if there's no threat of throwing the ball, that Lamar Jackson is going to run on that defense.
I mean, he's thrown over 30 touchdowns, so there's a little bit of a threat.
No, there isn't. Not against a real team when you could play real pass defense. Because, let's face it, you can't play man coverage right now against the receivers. Because if you do, they're going to run everybody off and Lamar's going to run the ball. Back then, I can grab your receivers. Now, I can play zone and grab your receivers. Until the ball's thrown, I can grab you in 1974. And keep you from going anywhere. And I guarantee you this, there ain't a wide receiver in the NFL today that could have beaten Mel Blount. Mel Blount was the greatest cornerback to ever play the game. They changed the rules because of Mel Blount.
Right.
So there's nobody like that on the Ravens. There's not one Hall of Fame football player on the Ravens. Unless Mark Ingram can do this for 10 more years or Lamar Jackson can do it for 10 more years. But you know what? In 1975, we all knew Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he should be. We knew how great they were. So, all right, let's go ahead and continue with the rankings. We got Ryan Tannehill at number 5, Carson Wentz at 6, Deshaun Watson at number 7. And it seems to me Tannehill, Wentz, I'm all right with. I may even put Wentz ahead of Tannehill right now, Sam, just because he won.
Yeah, I can understand that. Carson Wentz doing a lot more with a lot less right now. We've already been through all the receivers and weapons he's had that are injured, and he's managing to pull this team basically into a playoff position. And he had that. I'm going to call it a signature game, even though we know signature games are really meant for the playoffs. But I'll call it a signature game against Dallas, because he managed to pull out that giant winning to Cowboys. I do say that Tannehill has statistically been a lot better recently. And I know Tennessee hasn't won the last 2 weeks, but at the same point, Tannehill is not to blame, I think, for all their struggles.
Well, Derrick Henry being out, I think, is probably the biggest blame.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, what do you think about 5, 6, and 7?
You bring up the whole situation with Tannehill and Derrick Henry, and we talked about this, I think, earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, the threat of his 20 to 25 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown or two. You take that away, they're stuck with Dion Lewis, who's really a pass-catching back, running the football, and the opposing defense can just pin their ears back and go after Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, really, I think when you look at Tannehill, Wentz, and Watson, they're all working with skeleton crews right now, which makes it impressive and puts them that high. Number 8, Jimmy Garoppolo. Number 9, Tom Brady. Number 10, Kirk Cousins. Cousins had a terrible game without Dalvin Cook. We discussed that on Tuesday. You all right with Garoppolo at 8, Brady at 9, Cousins at 10, and Aaron Rodgers at 11, Anthony?
I think it's fair. Who was at 9?
Tom Brady.
Okay, then yeah, I don't know if I can right now put Brady ahead of Garoppolo, but Brady is starting to look a little bit better, especially doing what he did against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they had the Bengals, and he struggled against the Bengals, but against a very, very good defense, top 5 with the Buffalo Bills, Brady probably had his best game in 2 months. So I think that's very fair, but I just can't put him ahead of Garoppolo yet.
Well, I think this Sunday night will tell us all we need to know about Jimmy Garoppolo, Sam.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo's been a guy who's kind of sitting right around this spot for a while now. He's not truly elite, but he's not really falling back into the middle of the top 10. So I don't know where to place him right now because he's had up and down games throughout the entire season. But I think when it comes to that final clutch performance to see where San Francisco falls in this playoffs, that will tell us everything we need to know about what kind of player Jimmy Garoppolo is.
All right. We got Aaron Rodgers at 11. Whoever thought we'd have a Tom Brady at 9, Aaron Rodgers at 11, Derek Carr at 12, Josh Allen at 13, Dak Prescott at 14. What I see here is I think Josh Allen should be a little bit higher. I don't think he gets the credit for – I mean, we've got guys at number 5, 6, and 7 that don't have much help. I don't think that Josh Allen has a whole lot of help either, Sam.
That's true because his top receiving throw is John Brown, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And that's a guy who on some teams would be a third receiving option. So I can understand Josh Allen. He has struggled a little bit down the stretch here because he's played some tough defense, and that probably plays into it. He's played Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and New England back-to-back, so I can understand why he should be higher. But, it's a little hard to tell because there's a lot of what-ifs involved with Josh Allen right now. But I think depending on what he does in the playoffs, I think will really impact how we view him moving forward.
All right. Derek Carr. The Raiders still have a shot at the playoffs. That should probably put him in the top 10. Dak Prescott, I think, should be lower right now. And it's not because Anthony's on the show, and it's not just because Dak lost to the New York Jets earlier in the year. There you go. I got it in again. But I just think playing injured, he's playing like there's something wrong. And right now, if we're putting this at a power ranking, I couldn't see having him above Matt Ryan, who's number 15. But I think Prescott's 14 or 15 because of the injury. Anthony?
Yeah, I don't mind where Dak is right now. Dak's had a big year, but I don't exactly agree with the reason why he's had a big year. I think Dallas has tried to make this Dak's team despite giving Ezekiel Elliott that contract, and I think it has hurt the Cowboys. I think Dak's injury has hurt Dak personally. I think the receivers dropping passes is hurting Dak, and we haven't seen Dak run like we saw him run last year. I think they're trying to change Dak, and I don't agree with it. So, yeah, Dak deserves to be where he is right now.
Yeah, and my worry is they want to keep him the way he is right now, and I don't think that would work well for his career. We've got number 16, Kyler Murray, 17, Andy Dalton, 18, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Fitzpatrick and Dalton should both be slightly higher than this, Anthony.
Well, Dalton had an unbelievable game.
No, he had an unbelievable last 6 minutes.
Right, but we've seen that a lot this year from Andy Dalton when he has played. I would put Fitzpatrick. You can make the case you put Fitzpatrick a little bit higher.
I think you could put both of them higher. I think you could put them both above Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but
that's
Fitzpatrick he's winning games. Unfortunately, we know what Ryan Fitzpatrick is. He's he's at the back end of his career. He's a career backup because the Fitz magic eventually goes away. And at this point, he has nothing to lose.
How about this, though?
Of course, he's going to put up big numbers.
Is it because the magic eventually goes away, or is it because he's usually brought into a situation where he's the starter for a year and some young kid is going to take the job? He's never really had a fair shot to be the starting quarterback, has he?
Well, he was going to get a fair shot with the New York Jets, and then he held them hostage for a big-time deal after one season.
Well, yeah, because he wanted to get paid.
Was born.
Number 19, Jameis Winston. What can you say about Jameis Winston? It hasn't already been said, Sam.
Nothing. There's nothing I can add to the conversation except this is just what Jameis Winston is right now. He's the kind of guy who'll come out and it's boomer or bust, really, honestly. It's just a little bit crazy because I don't think I've seen a guy, in my lifetime at least, who's been this erratic week to week.
No, it's game to game. It's quarter to quarter with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. It's like 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And next week, it's 335 yards with 4 interceptions. And it's like interception every time he throws the ball on Sunday. It's just crazy. I've never seen anything like it, honestly.
Yeah, and if I'm Bruce Arians, I don't know what the hell I would do. But if I was Bruce Arians, I know I would have challenged that first down spot. So go ahead, Anthony.
It's hard. I've been so back and forth on Jameis Winston this year because
because you watch him and you see the potential to be a top 10 quarterback.
And I think you've said it, and Mike Hoff has said it on the FF Face-Off that you think he deserves a new contract.
I don't know if he does or not, but when I look
at his numbers, and yes, he does. And then next Sunday comes around, and he's throwing his, 4th or 5th per opening drive interception in the past 6 or 7 games. Then he throws another pick on the next drive, and it's another pick. And all of a sudden you're in a hole in the first quarter. And sure, he can dig him out of the hole, but at that point it's too late.
Yeah, but the thing is.
And this was in a game that Ronald Jones was running the ball well, so you can't even say they don't have a running game. This was a game where Ronald Jones was getting going, and he was still throwing picks.
And the thing is this, when you go from everybody 23 down, you can make the case Jameis is definitely better than them. So there's 9 or 10 teams where he's the best option to be the starting quarterback. That's scary. Number 20, Jared Goff. 21, Daniel Jones. Now, does Daniel Jones have some Jameis Winston in him? Because it seems like one game's 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then the next game, it'll be a touchdown and 4 interceptions. I assume we'll just hope that that's because he's young. Right, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it could be because he's young, but it's also the games he's done really well were against Detroit, which has a bottom 5 pass defense. It's the Jets, which has a bad pass defense. And again, it's the Redskins.
Hey, but remember this. I mean, you got to remember this. The Jets were good enough to beat the Cowboys. Go ahead.
That's true. I can't really say much anymore about that, but they beat the Steelers as well. But Daniel Jones, I'm a little worried. This might be a Baker Mayfield situation last year where he plays well against the bad teams, and then we hit year 2 and he plays some good teams, and we suddenly realize, he can't play at all. So it'll be interesting. Daniel Jones is kind of an unwritten book right now. I don't really know what to think about him just yet.
Yeah, I just realized that. Your team's the Steelers who lost to the Jets. Anthony's team's the Cowboys who lost to the Jets. My team's the Bengals who dominated the Jets. So that makes my team better than both of you guys' teams. All right, 22, Sam Darnold, who I think should be a little higher than this. I like Darnold. 23, Gardner Minshew, who I don't think is an NFL quarterback. 24, Dwayne Haskins, who played better but then got hurt. Sam?
Yeah, I agree with you with Darnold. I do like Darnold. Also, if the Jets can put more around him, specifically an offensive line, and get a running game going, I think Darnold's a good quarterback. I think he's an NFL. I think he's definitely an NFL quarterback, which I can't say for a lot of guys below him on this list. But yeah, I totally agree with you on Darnold. I think he's probably should be more around that 14 to 15 range if he has a better offensive line and a better running back. But then, yeah, I agree. Again, Dwayne Haskins finally does something and then gets injured, so we can't really even say what the rest of the game would have looked like for him. And everyone else below them is either a rookie and really young, or just isn't an NFL starting quarterback at this point.
All right, so my question to you, Anthony, is this. Is Gardner Minshew an NFL starting quarterback? Should the Jacksonville Jaguars roll with him next year?
Yes. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he brings a spark. And Nick Foles, whatever magic Nick Foles has in Philly, he doesn't seem to have it outside of Philly. Because
because the coaching and the teams aren't as good, though?
I mean, but Gardner Minshew is putting up big time numbers, but he's putting up numbers and winning games
with
the same supporting cast. He's won more games this year than Nick Foles, and
the
only reason why Gardner Minshew was benched for Nick Foles is because they gave Nick Foles a big time contract. They benched Nick Foles for Gardner Minshew.
All I know is he's played the last 4 games and they've won one of them. I don't think Gardner Minshew is a starting caliber NFL quarterback. I could be wrong.
Also, you can make that case about a lot of guys in the NFL.
Yeah, and I do all the time.
And, I know we'll get to him in a couple minutes. I think Drew Lock should be ahead of all these guys except Darnold.
Yeah. Who did Drew Lock beat this week?
Is it Detroit?
Yeah. And when he played a good team, what did he do? Wasn't he like 18 for 40 or something?
Yeah.
I think
but was he playing but he was playing in a negative game script. Probably, right?
Oh, my thing with Drew Lock is we'll wait and see. I would have him hired in 25, though. I would put him ahead of Haskins. I would put him ahead of Minshew. So I'd put him ahead of Daniel Jones.
Well, I don't know.
Because I don't think Daniel Jones is
like
good
Daniel
anyways.
Jones. I like Daniel Jones.
I don't. So by next year at this time, you'll see my way. All right. Drew Lock at 25, which me and Anthony both think Sam's nuts on. 26, Jacoby Brissett. I mean, the Colts gave him an extension at the start of this year. Should the Colts start to reconsider that, Sam?
I think you have to look at some options if you're the Colts. You have to consider what you can do at the quarterback position right now. Because I don't necessarily think you want to abandon Brissett, but at the same point, with how your season collapsed down the second half here, and he's really not looked like an NFL quarterback for like the last 6 weeks or so. He maybe had one good game during that time. I think you have to really evaluate what you've done here and figure out, is there a way to clean up this mess and maybe finish with a playoff caliber team next year? So I don't know. I don't think you can do that right now with your current quarterback situation.
No, because Jacoby Brissett to me is just a backup NFL quarterback who could come in and get hot for a few weeks, and that's going to be about the extent of it.
To be fair, he hasn't looked the same since the MCL, and I think they rushed him back, and I think they had to rush him back. But I also think the Colts and Jim Irsay believe Andrew Luck will be their quarterback in 2020.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I believe that or not. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I wouldn't buy into that. I don't think you can make that kind of chance if you're an NFL executive and you want to genuinely put together a winning football team. You cannot bet on a guy coming out of retirement to play for their team.
But maybe this was the plan all along. You don't think Jim Irsay? Jim Irsay 100% knew Andrew Luck was going to sit this season out.
How about this then?
And the reason why he didn't say anything is because he wanted to make sure his season tickets were sold, right or wrong.
Well, why would you give an extension to Jacoby Brissett then?
What did they give him, 2 years?
No, I think they gave him 3 years and a fair amount of money, didn't they, Sam?
Right, because he's a pretty good backup, like you said.
No, he's not. He's an all right. I never said he was a pretty good backup. I said he's an NFL backup.
Right.
There's not too many backups. I think
he's better than most backups, considering that, he had the Colts in the playoff conversation before the MCL injury. The Colts looked like a team that could potentially win that division before and it wasn't just the MCL. Marlon Mack missed time. T.Y. Hilton's been banged up all year. They've dealt with injuries on both sides of the ball. There's a lot that goes into why the Colts struggled this year, and it's not just Jacoby Brissett.
All right, next up, 27, Phillip Rivers, 28, Case Keenum, 29, Baker Mayfield, 30, Mitchell Trubisky, 31, Mason Rudolph, 32, David Blah. Will Grier started, and he's 33, so that'll tell you all you need to know about Will Grier. wasn't even. He was worse than every starter plus a backup. So, anybody want to talk anything about any of these guys? Because I think if I'm the Chicago Bears, I think I'm looking for help outside of Mitchell Trubisky. And the other question is this: if you're the Cleveland Browns, do you just hope that? I mean, they've got to get rid of Freddie Kitchens, I would think, no matter whether they say they're keeping him or not. They've got to get rid of him. And if they do you just hope that the problem here was Freddie Kitchens and you roll with Baker Mayfield another year? Or do you try to get another quarterback, Sam?
I think if you're Cleveland, you get rid of Freddie Kitchens and you roll with Baker Mayfield for one more year. We saw some flashes last year against bad teams, but we did see some flashes. And if you're Cleveland, you have no expectations at this point. So if you're the Browns, bring some guy in, let him see what he has in Baker Mayfield, see if they can put together something, and then you'll move on from there. But again, it's the Browns. You got to realize things are different with Cleveland all the time. So I think give him a year, see what he can do here, and if not, be ready to move on.
Yeah, Anthony, I would think that being he's the number one pick in the draft a couple years ago, you've got to give him another year and find out before you cut bait with him.
With Baker?
Yeah.
I think you give him another year.
Yeah. I think you've got too much invested into him not to. All right. Anything else we want to discuss before we wrap it up, guys? Anthony?
No, I think we got everything covered.
Sam?
I think we got everything we needed to.
All right. Sam, you want to tell everybody where they can follow you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Sam_Teets33. You'll find all my articles there for the Grueling Truth posted, along with articles from any other websites I write for. So feel free to go check all those out.
All right. Anthony?
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow my show at the FF Face Off, and we can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. And a little personal news. On the year in the Fantasy Pros Accuracy contest with all the fantasy football experts that qualify, I did come in number 15 collectively for the season.
So you're like in the middle. So you would be like
in the middle.
Who do you got at number 15 on the quarterback rankings, Sam?
Out of 130.
Yeah,
come on, give me a break.
You're Matt Ryan.
You're Matt. Well, that's all right.
Out of 130.
That's okay.
Yeah, 15th means you're the 14th loser. At least that's what Ricky Bobby said in Talladega Nights. But we congratulate you anyways. I want to tell everybody we have a little breaking report here. At 3 o'clock today, I, myself, will be doing a college football playoff preview show with former San Francisco 49er and CBS sports analyst Randy Cross. So make sure you check that out at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, which will be in about an hour and a half once I get this posted. So make sure you check that out. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we will have the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show with myself and Ken Sterling. Andy McWilliams will be on at 3 o'clock to do a Big East basketball preview for the Xavier Musketeers. And tomorrow at noon, me and Anthony will be back to pick all the games for this weekend, which means we get to talk about the Cowboys again, which I love to do. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Sam Teets, Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.